The return trip from Japan to South Korea this time felt different for Park Jimin and John Jungkook. Not just an ordinary flight, but a quiet moment that they rarely get in the middle of a busy schedule and endless highlights. Inside the aircraft cabin, away from the airport crowds and camera flashes, the two finally have room to breathe, talk, and enjoy being together in a simple but meaningful way. As the plane took off from Japan, the atmosphere in the cabin slowly became quieter. The lights are dimmed, the noise of the aircraft engines becomes a constant background, and the passengers begin to immerse themselves in each other's activities. Jimin sat by the window, staring out, watching the city lights slowly shrink until they finally disappear behind the clouds. His expression was calm, but there was a hint of melancholy implied, as if he was recalling moments that had just passed in Japan. On the side, Jungkook looks more relaxed. He took off his jacket and leaned back comfortably, occasionally glancing at Jimin. Without saying much, he seemed to understand Jimin's mood. In relationships that have been established for so long, sometimes silence is precisely the most frank form of communication. Moments later, Jungkook broke the silence with a light question, something that sounded simple but enough to change the mood. Jimin turned his head, smiled slightly, and the conversation began to flow. They talk about travel in Japan, the places they visit, the food they try, and the little moments that may never be seen by the public. Quiet laughter was heard every now and then, creating warmth in the middle of the silent cabin. Between the conversations, there were also pauses in which they were only silent to each other, but not an awkward silence. Quite the contrary, the silence was comforting, like two best friends who don't need to always talk to feel close. Jimin looked out the window again, this time with a lighter expression. Jungkook, who noticed the change, only smiled slightly. When the cabin crew started handing out food, the atmosphere became a little more lively. Jungkook, with his typical curiosity, looks enthusiastic to try the menu presented. He even joked about the choice of food, making Jimin laugh more freely. Such simple moments, sharing food, light jokes become invaluable in the midst of their fast-paced lives. Before long, the cabin lights dimmed even more, signaling a break. Many passengers began to fall asleep, but Jimin and Jungkook were still awake. Their conversation turned to deeper things about the future, about hope, and perhaps also about the pressures they faced as part of BTS. None of the details sounded obvious, but from their expressions, it was evident that the conversation was full of meaning. Jungkook nodded occasionally, listening intently as Jimin spoke. On the other hand, Jimin seemed more open, as if he found comfort in sharing his story with someone who truly understood. This moment shows the other side of them, not as big idols, but as two individuals who support each other. When the fatigue finally began to feel, Jimin leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes. Jungkook watched for a while, making sure everything was comfortable before finally taking a break. Amid the quiet sound of the plane's engine and cabin, the two slowly fell asleep, bringing with them the warmth of the conversation they had just shared. The flight may only last a few hours, but its meaning goes much deeper. Inside the cabin, devoid of the spotlight and expectations, Jimin and Jungkook rediscover the simple things they often miss: friendship, honesty, and serenity. As the plane began to approach Korea, morning light slowly entered through the window. Jimin woke up first, seeing the scenery below that was getting clearer. He smiled a little, as if realizing that they had returned. Jungkook awoke shortly after, and the two exchanged brief glances, a small, meaningful moment. This return is not only about returning to Korea, but also about bringing back memories, reflections, and maybe even a new spirit. And even though the world outside will once again be crowded with schedules and highlights, those warm moments inside the plane's cabin will remain an unseen, yet very meaningful part of their journey. When the plane's wheels finally hit the runway in Korea, subtle vibrations were felt throughout the cabin. That moment became a sign that this short but meaningful journey had reached its end. Park Jimin slowly unfastened his seatbelt, while John Jungkook sat still for a moment, as if he didn't fully want to leave the calm atmosphere they had just felt. The announcement from the cabin crew sounded soft, welcoming their arrival back on Korean soil. The passengers began to prepare, pick up luggage, and the previously quiet atmosphere is now slowly changing to a more lively one. But among all that, Jimin and Jungkook remained in their own rhythm, unhurried. Jim looked out the window one last time. The Korean morning sky greeted with soft colors, as if to give a warm greeting on their return. There was something in Jimin's expression that felt different, lighter, calmer, as if this journey had given him space to tidy up his feelings and thoughts again. Jungkook finally stood up, grabbed a small bag, then turned to Jimin with a slight smile. Without needing many words, he signaled that it was time to step outside and face the world outside the cabin again. Jimin nodded slowly, then followed Jungkook's steps. As they walked down the aisle of the plane, the atmosphere felt so contrasting compared to a few hours before. If before they were immersed in silence and private conversations, now reality is beginning to return. But one thing remains the same, a noticeably stronger closeness between the two. At the exit of the plane, before actually stepping outside, Jungkook paused for a moment. He turned to Jimin, saying something in a low voice that didn't sound clear. Jimin smiled, not an ordinary smile, but a smile that showed deep understanding. Maybe it's just a simple sentence, but enough to leave a warm impression that they will remember. As soon as they entered the airport area, the atmosphere instantly changed. Staff and security were already on standby, and although the situation was under control, it was clear that their presence did not go unnoticed. But different from usual, both seemed to carry a calmer aura. No exaggerated gestures, no contrived expressions, just a sure step and a focused gaze forward. Behind all that, the moment in the cabin of the plane still seemed to make an impression. Conversations, small laughs, to comfortable silence. Everything becomes a kind of secret room that only the two of them understand. The world may see them as part of the glittering BTS, but behind that, they are still two best friends who strengthen each other. When they finally came out of the arrivals area, a new day really began. Schedules, jobs, and responsibilities await, but their pace this time felt different, more steady, more aligned. As if that short trip from Japan had given something invisible, but very palpable, and perhaps, amid all the bustle that will again envelop them, there will always be memories of the evening in the aircraft cabin, of frank conversations, simple laughter, and meaningful silence. A small moment that was never captured on camera, but instead became the most valuable part of their journey.